and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. Court stops Labour Party's chairman, secretary, others from parading as national officers. Federal government declares Friday, Monday public holiday. Plus, UN meets Taliban officials over women's staff ban. We'll bring you details of the stories and more in a moment. First in the news this afternoon is a report that a Federal Capital Territory High Court has issued an order restraining the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, National Secretary Farouk Ibrahim, and two others from parading themselves as national officers of the party. Others stopped from parading themselves as national officers are the National Organizing Secretary, Clement Ojukwu, and the Treasurer, Oluchi Opara. Justice Hamza Mwazu issued the restraining order while ruling in ex parte application argued by James Onoja. In an application, Onoja told the court how the restrained national officers allegedly forged themselves document of the FCT High Court to carry out unlawful substitutions in the last general elections. Among the documents were the receipts, seal and affidavit of the courts to carry out criminal activities. Meanwhile, the federal government has declared Friday 7th and Monday 10th April 2023 as public holidays to mark this year's Easter celebration. The Minister of Interior, Ralph Aregbesola, made the declaration in Abuja. Aregbesola, in a statement signed by the ministry's permanent secretary, Shuaib Begor, urged Christians to emulate the virtues of sacrifice, togetherness, forgiveness, and kindness, love, peace, and patience, which were attributes and practices of Jesus Christ, as exemplified by his ministry on earth. He called on Christians and all Nigerians to use the occasion of this year's Easter celebration to pray for an end to the security challenges in parts of the country. Speaking further, he assured that the federal government is doing all this that is necessary to ensure a peaceful transition of government following the peaceful conduct of elections. In another development, federal government has approved the 2023 disbursement guidelines in the total sum of 320.3 billion naira as intervention to public tertiary institutions across the country. The Executive Secretary of TET Fund, Sonny Echono, revealed these at a workshop organized for the beneficiary institutions. He said each university shall get the total sum of 1.7 billion naira for the year 2023 intervention cycle. He also added that each polytechnic shall get 699.9 million naira as an annual intervention, while each college of education shall get 8.8 million naira as annual direct disbursement intervention. The channel told newsmen that the fortunes of the Nigerian tertiary education sector improved significantly under the Buhari administration. Away from that, the federal government has said that operators in the maritime sector may get about $700 million to acquire new vessels. The Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Bashira Jamor, said these at a maiden annual lecture of the Institute of Maritime Studies at the University of Lagos, Akoka. According to him, at least $700 million has been earmarked for the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. Jamal added that the government is looking towards to each ship owner getting at least $25 million from the fund. In a separate development, President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the National Council on Digital Innovation Entrepreneurship (NCDIE) today. The NCDIE, which is chaired by the President, has 13 other members including the Vice President, Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Trade and Investment, Communications and Digital Economy, Governor of the Central Bank, among others. The Council is equally charged with the responsibility of promoting the development of the country's digital economy and providing a supportive environment for entrepreneurs to thrive. At the inauguration, President Buhari highlighted the importance of the NCDIE in driving economic growth and job creation, as well as plans to consolidate on the gains recorded in the sector under his administration. The President said he expects that the Entrepreneurship Council will oversee the implementation of the Nigeria Startup Act 2022, which aims to stimulate the growth of innovative startups and small and medium-sized enterprises (SMEs) in the country. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has written to the House of Representatives urging it to consider and approve the Nigerian Data Protection Bill and Police Force College Training Schools and Institutions Establishment Bill. Buhari also requested the Green Chamber to approve the reimbursement by issuing promissory notes to Plateau and Borno State, the sums of 6.6 billion naira and 3.8 billion naira, respectively, for federal roads executed by the state. The President's requests were contained in separate letters addressed to the Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, at plenary. Reading the letters, the Deputy Speaker, Idris Wase, who presides over the plenary session, explained that the Data Protection Bill sought to provide a legal framework for the protection of personal information and establish a Data Protection Commission for the regulation of the processing of personal information. Meanwhile, the Police Force College Training Schools and Institutions Establishment Bill is to provide a comprehensive institutional framework for the establishment of the Nigerian Police Force College for the provision of specialized training to officers in law enforcement to enhance their performance. In a separate development, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has directed the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority to develop the country's first carbon market activation plan and drive engagement on the plan. He also argued that Africa could become the first truly green civilization given its status as the lowest carbon emitter and its relatively young population that could effectively deploy green manufacturing at scale. The Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Publicity, Laulu Akande, disclosed this in a statement today in Abuja. The statement described the collaboration between NCIA and Vital, a multinational energy and commodities company, as crucial due to its lineup of projects, and it would make Nigeria a functional green economy. From the Red Chambers now, where the Senate has adopted the report of the conference committee set up with the House of Representatives to harmonize the bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Peace Corps. The conference committee set up earlier in the year by both the Senate and House of Representatives completed its assignment on Wednesday last week. A harmonized report of the conference committee, which was laid and adopted by the Senate in plenary, showed the upper chamber adopted the version of the bill as passed by the House of Representatives. However, the bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Peace Corps provides the opportunity for individuals, groups, associations and bodies that show or demonstrate interest to be absorbed as members of the Corps and shall be absorbed subject to the mandatory basic training and orientation program of the Corps, as may be prescribed from the time to time when the bill is signed into law. From the Green Chambers, The House of Representatives has called for tighter security in and around airports across the country for better protection of lives and property of air passengers. The call followed the unanimous adoption of a motion for urgent public importance moved by a member, DTH Channel, at the plenary. Adopting the motion titled "Need to ensure strict security in and around the airports and other critical facilities," the House urged the federal government to improve on security standards at the airport, especially exploring technology. The lawmaker also urged the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and other relevant agencies in the aviation sector to pay more attention to security concerns and ensure the lives of citizens are not in any way endangered. Elsewhere, the Nigeria Immigration Service (NIS) has urged Nigerians to apply for their passport 6 months before the expiration of the existing one. The National Immigration Service revealed this in a graphic tweet, saying when the validity on one's international passport is down with only 6 months left, the one should immediately begin the process of renewal to avoid the rush of being fallen into the hands of scammers. According to the NIS, Nigerians can get their passport whether fresh or renewal by visiting the homepage of Nigeria Immigration Portal. Locate and click on the appropriate application form to start the process. Back here, drivers in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, have been advised to obey road safety rules and regulations and also drive carefully to avoid road crashes as the rainy season draws near. Speaking with our correspondent, Esther Otoyo, the Public Relations Officer, Road Safety Corps (FRSC) Akwa Ibom State Sector Command James Paul noted that it is important for drivers to apply precautionary measures when driving in the rain to avoid the incident of road traffic crisis. Paul identified some of the precautionary measures and urged drivers to also avoid overloading of their vehicles as it can result in road accidents.
It is important for every driver who is driving within this period to be able to understand and have certain safety measures put in place. Particularly, we need to talk about the area or the aspect of lighting systems of your vehicle. You will understand that while you are driving, even though it is not raining before you set off at home, it's important that you have it at the back of your mind that it may be raining as you get along the way. So for that reason, it's important that you be able to check and be sure that all your lighting systems are in place, they are functional, they are working, and then you also need to check and be sure that you have a functional wiper. That's very, very important. Unfortunately, we've got to see some drivers that other than using their wiper where it is raining, they rather use perhaps rags or anything practice as well. It is also good for every driver to understand that during the rainy season that we also need to be sure that we have good tires. You understand that where it is raining, then you need a very good tire that will be able to make a very firm and strong grip with the surface of the road. So where you have a tire that is worn out, you realize that it increases your stopping distance, because where you apply brake, it takes a longer time for that vehicle to come to a final halt. It is also good that you be able to understand what you need to do in the event that you meet rain on the way. Yes, some drivers don't understand. You see them going, it's also precautionary that that driver reduces his or her speed.
Now to Africa, where Kenya former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has called for parties outside Parliament to be involved in negotiations to be held only within the Parliament. Odinga warned of fresh protests if the government did not take demands of the opposition seriously. Recall that he had reportedly agreed to the talks proposed by Ruto after the president asked him to halt protests over rising cost of living and claims of fraud in last August presidential election. Meanwhile, more than 200 activists have reportedly gathered outside the Ugandan High Commission in South Africa to demonstrate against the anti-gay bill recently passed by Ugandan lawmakers. The activists, led by South Africa's leftist economic freedom fighters opposition party, urged Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni not to sign the bill into law. According to them, the bill introduces harsh punishment for several. On a foreign scene, the United Nations mission in Afghanistan has held talks with Taliban officials in Kabul to seek clarity on a new government ban that blocks women from working for the world body across the country. Recall that since seizing power in August 2021, the Taliban authorities have imposed a slew of restrictions on Afghan women, including banning them from higher education and many government jobs. The UN said the Taliban government had extended a ban on women working for non-governmental organizations to the world body. Spokesman for the Secretary General Stephane Dujarric told reporters that UN received word of an order by the facto authorities that bans female national staff members of the United Nations from working, adding that the UN has heard from various conduits that this applies to the whole country. Meanwhile, the UN chief Antonio Guterres said any such ban would be unacceptable and, frankly, inconceivable. Still on a foreign scene, former U.S. President Donald Trump has been pleaded not guilty to 34 criminal counts stemming from hush money paid to an adult movie star before the 2016 election. The 76-year-old Republican former president faces dozens of counts in the case, which threatens to upend the 2024 White House race. Recall that Trump turned himself in for the court hearing held amid tight security and global media frenzy, as the Republican became the first American president in history to face criminal charges. Still to come in the news. UEFA President Alexander Catherine wins third-term re-election to stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Welcome back. On our business news, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council has executed more than 180 reforms aimed at making Nigeria a progressively better place to start and do business. This was disclosed in Abuja by the Special Advisor to the President on Ease of Doing Business and Secretary of PEBEC, Jumoke Oduole, during stakeholder sensitization program on the Business Facilitation Act 2022, which was recently signed into law by President Buhari. Oduole said most of the 180 reforms were targeted at impacting the life cycles of micro, small and medium enterprises to ensure they perform better in the economy. She noted that the reforms cut across automation aimed at minimizing human intervention in regulatory processes, including regulatory reforms to enhance performance, cost-effectiveness, or legal quality of regulations, as well as port and trade reforms to streamline and simplify procedures for trade. Still in business, the federal government, through the Ministry of Transportation, has set up a committee to oversee the monetization of railway quarters across the country. The move is aimed at generating revenue for the government and improving the living conditions of railway workers. The Secretary General, National Union of Railway Workers, Segun Esang, disclosed this to newsmen in Abuja. According to him, the committee will be responsible for determining the market's value of the quotas, developing a payment plan for interested buyers, and ensuring that the process is transparent and equitable. In health, the federal government has said that only about 60% of eligible Nigerians have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. The Executive Director of National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, NPHCDA, Faisal Shuaib, made the revelation in Abuja at a knowledge sharing for accelerating equitable access, acceptance, and uptake of COVID-19 vaccines access project. Represented by the State Immunization Officer FCT, Dr. Okoli Nicholas, the NPHCDA boss submitted that Nigeria was yet to attain the target of vaccinating 70% of its citizens. He claimed the development and people's hesitancy to take the vaccine, adding that lifting of lockdowns and restrictions contributed to the problem. Asked what the country is doing wrong in this regard, the NPHCDA chief executive has stated that the only challenge was vaccine hesitancy. Still in health, the National Health Insurance Authority (NHIA) has reiterated its commitment to provide financial protection to Nigerians in the event of ill health. The NHIA coordinator in Kaduna State, Aminu Tamimu, who gave the assurance in Kaduna, said that the authority has different health insurance packages for different categories of people in both the formal and informal sector, and that they are all aimed towards the attainment of universal health coverage. According to him, there is a package for the formal sector, informal sector, community-based retirees, and undergraduates, among other packages for all categories of persons and individuals, stressing that the aim is to ensure that no one is left behind in the federal government's effort to provide health insurance cover for. And in sport, Alexander Catherine has been re-elected unopposed for a third term as president of UEFA at a meeting of European football's governing body in Lisbon today. The 55-year-old Slovenian lawyer, first elected in 2016 following the downfall of Frenchman Michael Platini, will remain in the role until 2027. Catherine's re-election by acclamation comes after he fought off the breakaway European League project during his second term, and he now will oversee the introduction of a new format for the Champions League starting next year. According to reports, he will also be able to focus on pursuing the planned introduction of new financial fair rule plays, which will see clubs forced to limit spending on player and staff wages, transfers and agent fees to 70% of total revenues by 2025 and 2026. And still in sports, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) is considering changing the dates of match day 5 and 6 of the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The match day 5 and 6 fixtures are scheduled for June, but there are reports CAF will move it to September, October, November. Reports say a number of African countries requested for a shift in date so as to allow them to take part in friendly games in June. Algeria, Morocco, South Africa, Ghana, holders Senegal, Egypt, Tunisia are among the countries who have already qualified for AFCON 2023. The Super Eagles currently top Group A with 9 points and 4 games and a draw. In their next game against the Lone Stars of Sierra Leone will be enough for them to seal a place in the competition. Côte d'Ivoire will host the competition from Saturday, January 13th to Sunday, February 11, 2024. On entertainment news, Nigerian award-winning musician Davido will be the very special guest appearance at the 2023 Forbes 30 Under 30 conference in Botswana. The 30-year-old Afrobeat megastar is set to speak at the Forbes 30 Under 30, expected to share some insight about becoming one of the biggest artists in the world while also running a successful label. Davido will also be performing his new album Timeless at the event, as he is set to entertain guests from all around the world. Recall that the hitmaker first performed the album in New York at the Irvine Plaza before performing 2 days later at The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Still on entertainment news, Nigerian hip-hop artist Folarin Falana, popularly known as Falz, has revealed why he does confrontational music. In an interview with newsmen, Falz said he would rather go down fighting for justice than to remain silent and die from the alleged failed system of the country. The multi-talented entertainer was speaking on the heels of his latest song with his colleague Vector titled Yakubu. The rappers in the song called out INEC, its chairman, and other political parties allegedly involved in the electoral malpractice in the just concluded general elections. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Rachel David White. Good afternoon.